Hello everybody and welcome to Kitbashing. Today we're gonna make the ultimate bellboy of Nurgle, Ringma. Ringma what you ask? Well, Ringma bells of course. Starting with the Noxious Blightbringer from Chosen of Mortarion kit, we're gonna trim away all the dangling sensors of the backpack and his armpits. The balls and chains are gonna get saved for a later build down the line. We're just in here checking how the mod is gonna look up. We are gonna do this in a bit of a sub-assembly type build to make sure we get all those nice details in the right spots. Also, I'm going to send all of these sprues to Boxman builds because it's been almost a year since he uploaded the video and I need my autism fix. We are weapon swapping the mace hand for a bell staff from the Putrid Blight King's kit. It's gonna take a bit of finagling to get just right, but we're gonna make it look good in the end. Yeah, here we are taking the last of those sensors off the backpack. This one kit took a lot of cleaning up from the mode lines since it was a resin cast. I'm not gonna pay those scalpers at GW 150 bucks just to make one single model. Using a bit of a needle file action to get all of those holes and tighter corners where I can't scrape with the knife to get it all cleaned up. Here we're using a sanding pad just to finish up with the details. A bit more needle file action. Oh man, I really should have edited this down to be a bit shorter. Okay, here we go with the super glue. Obviously we're using super glue because this is a resin cast Chinese bootleg, so we can't use the normal plastic cement on it. Of course, when I put the bell together, I forgot to put the actual ringer in there, so we're gonna have to put it in a bit later. But hey, this is what happens if you don't follow instructions. Oh, got a close up here. I'm trimming off and trying to locate the hand and where the actual bell is gonna sit after we put it in. I noticed that the angle is way too low and it's gonna hit the ground if we glue it in like this, so later we're gonna have to carve off the actual hand and do a hand swap on the model as well. Here we're just carving off pieces of the mace to try and make it look a lot cleaner. Using the knife to scrape off all of the excess pieces, and now it looks like the mace was actually never there. The butt end of the staff looks real nice on it, but yeah, the angle is not too good, so I had to make the executive decision to actually cut off the rest of the hand if we could get it into frame here. I'm replacing the hand with one from the Chaos Terminator's kit. Just taking down the piece of the bolter around the hand and scraping off all the details. We're gonna trim down the trim some more, making sure the hand actually fits into the socket. We're gonna do a few test fits. Then we do some heavy trimming down with the nippers. Starting to get there. Just a few more snips and a few more carves with the knife. Should be starting to get in there. Just need to get the hole a little bit better in there. Alright, a bit of super glue and we are done. Now the angle of the wrist is a lot more natural and actually lets us put on the staff without the model tippling over. Now we have base coated the whole model with wraith bone, and we're gonna start doing the base coats with some screaming skull. Getting all pieces of the armor, the fleshy parts and the hornet bones that are growing off the armor. This gives a good base coat for the darker wash that we are gonna put on later. All the wooden pieces are base coated with Mournfang brown, and all the metallic pieces are base coated in Abaddon black. I would personally like to use black base coat for the metallics because I can do a dry brush or a heavy overbrush with the metallic, leaving all the recesses and the crevices nice and dark. It gives it a lot more worn down and that grimdark look. All the metallics are dry brushed with lead belcher, and all of the copper trim is done with Runelord brass. I've used Abaddon black to base coat all of the black joints of the armor and the metallic armor trims, to which I'm gonna do the same Runelord brass treatment, making sure not to spill too much over, because then it's a bitch to base coat the shoulder parts with the Deathguard green. I wanted to try painting the pallid hand color scheme on this model, so I'm painting the shoulders green and leaving the armor bone white. The wash for the armor is an equal parts of 50-50-50 mix of Skeleton Horde, Agrax Earthshade and Lamium Medium. For all the mathematicians out there, that all adds up to 150%. Don't question me on this, that's just how it works. We're just gonna slather it all over this model, making sure for the wash to pool down on all the nooks and crannies. This is gonna leave the model with a bit of a coffee stain effect, and then we are just ready to glaze the highlights with some wraith bone. Try and attack all of the flat parts of the model and also all the raised rivets. Personally, for models like this, I like to do a bit of a clean, weathered look, where I make sure it still has some grime on the armor, but the finished end result still looks a bit neater. Using very thin glazes, I highlight all of the bone details and the horns growing out of the model with wraith bone. Using very thin coats just to make all of those highlights pop. All of the fleshy bits and the tentacles are gonna get base coated in Emperor's Children, but you can use some normal flesh colors as well if you like. I just really like the contrast of the pink fleshy tones on the bone white armor. Fuck! Dropped the model there. I think I also managed to snap off one of the spikes on the helmet. But no worry about that. We can fix it later. I'm also using the same Emperor's Children pink on the front tabard as a base coat. Wet blending Evil Sun Scarlet and Emperor's Children, we get a nice crimson gradient on the cloth, separating shadows from the highlights. Using Mortarian Grime and Plaguebearer Flesh, we're gonna put some shading onto the fleshy parts, and then we're using Flaskgit's Yellow to put highlights on all the pus and pustules. We also switched the camera angle a bit, just because I cannot fucking operate a phone camera, but don't you worry, it will be get switched back soon. Are we gonna get in there? Nope, out of focus. In focus again? Yeah. Oh, we got that dot. Okay, now, so this is what the model looks like after we attached in the backpack. Looking pretty good. We're doing a bit more of those white bone highlights on the big horn of the backpack. I used some Wraithbone and Morfang Brown to create a highlight paint for all the wooden parts, to highlight all the wood grain and to make it just a bit more nicer looking. We're also using a metallic dry brush to get all of the metal details on the plasma pistol. We are finally attaching the bell staff to the model, scraping off any excess paint and using super glue gel to make the attachment. The nerdling dangling from the backpack gets base coated in the same Emperor's Children, and we are taking extra time to glaze up the ass cheeks. Since we did the weapon swap on the hand, the nurgling did not fit into his usual position, but thankfully we got the pixel perfect fit up with the one leg on the back of the staff. Using the same yellow, we're gonna highlight all of the pustules, making them look extra slimy and grimy. Then we're going to wash everything down with that plague bearer flesh to make him look extra sickly and nasty. Using a 50-50 mix of Runelord brass and Retributor armor, we are highlighting all of the brass parts on the model. With all the fine details done, except for the plasma pistol, because I fucking forgot, the model is ready for the beauty shots. Remember to leave a dislike, report the channel, and drop a hate comment down below. Thanks.